Hello, and welcome to Patient Rounding. I'm Jenny Burgett, the Director of ICU and PCU, along with Stacy Bune, Director of Med-Surg, Peds, and the Joint Center, and our own Brent Connors, our patient advocate and rounding extraordinaire. Today, we are going to own the moment with Patient Rounding and show you what a difference you can make. Next slide. So today, we're going to review a Press Ganey tool called iRounding, which helps give us data on how we are all doing. It includes some really cool features, such as easily being able to identify which patients need to be rounded on, or automatically notifying a director or manager to follow up when there is a patient issue. So we're going to talk about the best practices on how we do rounding, how Press Ganey has done rounding across the country, but also the tips and tricks that we've found successful right here at home. We're going to discuss the iRounding format and how to best use the iPad and the laptop. And we're going to discuss our expectations that we have as an organization for patient rounding. Next slide. So why is patient rounding important? Our patients are our customers, and they have really high expectations. They not only want high quality care, but they want a great experience. They want to be treated like family. They want to be treated like they matter and like they're important. Every one of us can play a huge difference in the patient's experience simply by taking the time to listen. Usually that's all they want. Sometimes they can be the person that has the best suggestion on how we can make things better. Sometimes they can be unrealistic, but usually even the unrealistic folks are satisfied just because we took the time to listen. Either way, if we take the time to listen, we can learn and they can be satisfied. We are caring for patients at their most vulnerable and scary times. Imagine how you might feel and would want to be taken care of if the roles were reversed. Rounding and listening can get to any concerns they might have or might be too scared to express. And it also allows you to pick up on things that maybe they're not telling you. Again, we round because it matters. Patient experience matters, not only because it keeps our customers coming back, it keeps us winning awards, it gives us job security, but because we are caring for our family, our friends, our neighbors, our community, and they matter. Next slide.
Thank you. I'll take over here. We'll talk about rounding best practices. Everybody, this is not only going to pertain to iRounding, but it pertains to the purposeful rounding that we do already on the floors. I'm just going to cover some of the common practices that we use here, throw in a few tips, hopefully, that can help you down the road. Always, 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 when you go in, you want to introduce yourself. It's important to introduce yourself as a leader because people want to be heard and they want to know that they're heard by somebody that's in charge, by somebody that can do something about it. So introduce yourself as the leader. Hi, I'm Brent. I'm the patient advocate. I'm the director of the department. I'm the manager. I'm the charge nurse. And when we're talking with patients, we want to work it into a conversation. We don't want to just sit there and read the questions from the iPad. I guess initially it's a little difficult. The wording's a little bit off. It may not fit your common style of conversation, and that's okay. Kind of work with that, and you have some opportunity that you can do. Practice rounds, which we'll see here in a little bit. I'm going to do a demo, but you'll be able to do some practice rounds and work with the wording. But eventually, you're going to be able to work these questions into a regular conversation, and it just flows a lot easier for you and for the patient. If you have time, sit down. Some of the rounding that you do, purposeful rounding, you can take a little bit of extra time and talk to them and see what's going on, what's bothering them, what they're liking best, what we can improve on. iRounding sometimes is quicker. We're asking them 5 or 6 questions, and depending on what's going on, standing up and just going through the conversation may be appropriate. Kind of guide yourself with that. Watch their nonverbal cues. You know, do they look like they're busy? When I'm doing my rounds, sometimes I'm coming in and it's breakfast time, or people are in and out doing morning care. And I just try to gauge the patient, what's going on, and I adjust that way. I do, by all means, if a patient shares a concern, I do sit down because I want to give them my undivided attention. I want to listen. I want to make sure I'm gonna repeat back to them what their complaint is. And we'll talk about service recovery. I know there are some concerns about that typically when people are doing rounds. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And when we're doing rounds, it's important to let people know why we're doing them. We're coming in to do eye rounds. We're gauging that we want to make sure that our care is on point for them. But it's nice to use keywords, privacy, comfort, safety. Just want to make sure you're up to date. I notice the round, if I walk in, I notice the rail is down. I pull the rail up. I say, I'm just going to put this up for your safety. I know you don't use them at home, but here, you know what? It's part of the world. In the ER, at least one rail is up. I know up on the floors, they have the two upper rails up. I find these things not only comfortable sometimes, but important to help readjust in the bed or rest with your arms on the bed, whatever. But anyway, for your safety, make sure you're up to date. I just wanted to make sure you're up to date. Your tests are all completed. We should get something back within an hour or so. As soon as the doctor reviews them, he'll come in and talk to you, or she. Rounding to learn something new. Not so much, I mean, that's what we're doing with eye rounding. We want to make sure we're doing well. Some of the eye rounding questions they're all very specific, I should say. But you know, did you recognize that the nurses did a bedside report? That's something that we have determined as an organization is important. Press Ganey has also shared that that is important as far as keeping the patient involved in their care, allowing them to hear once again what's going on, what has happened, what's about to happen, and knowing that the next nurse is aware of that as well. And go back to managed up based on that, doing a bedside report, or if you're doing an eye round report and the nurse happens to be in there, or a PCA, or anybody, could be EVS representative. It's nice if you know the person to manage them up, build them up a little bit. I used to always do that with a little bit deprecating humor when I was in the ER, and it'd be like, oh, hey, so I just want to introduce you to Andrew. He's going to be your nurse now, and I'm going to tell you, you're taking a step up in the game because you've had to deal with me, and you know I'm kind of shaky. Andrew rocks. He knows his stuff. He knows what's going on, and he will take great care of you. Always, 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 please manage up. Praise the other person. We're all on the same team. We want everybody else to be on the same team, and we can imprint upon the patient what we want them to see by telling them what we want them to see. Watch for nonverbal cues. I think I talked about that earlier. I'm not sure, but we'll talk about that. When you're talking to them and asking questions, a lot of times they'll just kind of, they might kind of do a side eye, or they might just kind of, you know, look around or not want to answer directly. What I have found is people oftentimes don't want to get someone in trouble, so they don't want to say anything. I always like to reinforce that with the fact that you're not getting anybody in trouble, but you know, Worcester Hospital over the years has won a lot of awards. We've placed in the top 100 several times. The way that we do that is by learning what's not working and taking action and making things work, and changing a process if we need to, or having a conversation with somebody and saying, hey, it's not really how we do it here. And just sometimes we need to bring people back on center. We're not trying to get people in trouble, okay? And always, always, thank you. I thank them when I'm done. If I'm going into town, there's going to be a delay, I thank them for their patience in advance. Again, I'm managing how I want them to respond with my words, if that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and stop share here because I'm going to pull up the eye rounding, whatever screen, and actually sign in. And I want to walk you guys through on a demo. I want to walk you through an actual round, okay? It's they're honestly very simple, but you know, it can this is going to be the bigger challenge for me. Let's see. We're out here. We want to share again, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. There we go. Share screen. I appreciate your patience, everybody. I thank you in advance for your patience, right? That's how I use it too. Share. All right. So here we go. When you log in on the I'm just going to call it a computer, but you know, on the tablet, you're going to have your normal sign in. And you hope you have the right password when you're doing it live. And boom, we get lucky. You sign in. Sometimes I've heard people are having trouble signing in. If you're having trouble signing in, look back in your email, because you should have at some point received an activation notice. You have to go in through the activation. And I'll be honest, I don't remember what that entails, but that has to happen before this happens. But when you sign in, this is the screen you're going to see. The little person laying in the bed says iRound browser rounding. You're going to click on that. The next page brings up a whole bunch of hoopla. Do not worry about this page at all, you guys. Go right to the status map up here at the top. This is where we do the round. We're going to do the status map, and you'll notice, let's pull this down here. You'll notice all the different departments that we're using. So if you're a float, you're going to click on the department that you're in. Obviously, everybody else is going to click on their own department. We're going to focus here on the training unit because it allows us to do some practice stuff without really messing up anything. As you look at these, I just want to look at the bed one, and we're going to see that the bed one was last quote unquote rounded May 3rd at 9:56 in the morning. Their last service recovery was April 21st at 12:55. We will not go over service recovery in detail, but I'll talk a little bit about it as far as the primary steps to do service recovery. Okay. So when you get on here, you're going to choose your department, your unit, and we will go down to 4 because nothing's been done here. It looks for a while. You're going to go down and click on new round. It's going to open the rounding up. You'll see your name at the top. Something I noticed just last week when I was preparing for this is you can tap here for instructions, and it opens this up and talks a little bit about the instructions of the eye rounding and I guess the purpose of it. You can also go here for scripting, tap here for scripting, and you can use this. Hello, my name is Brent. My role is patient advocate, and my purpose is in visiting is making sure that we are doing a great job of caring for you to see how we can improve your care. Like I said before, use these words and put them into your own words so that it fits your conversation, because that was awkward for me to read. That's the second time I've read it. Awkward. If you're able to read that and that flows, good for you. I have to read these things and then put them in my words. We go down here, the facility is WOC. That represents us. I'm not sure how or why. We're in unit, we're in the training unit, and we're doing a round on bed 4. The type of round, you have an option for admit or transfer, a daily round or a discharge round. I'm gonna show you a couple things here, but regardless of which one you choose, the round itself doesn't change. So if we're doing an admission round, and then we would go to able to round, yes or no, all of the questions they're all gonna be the same. When I'm doing my round as patient advocate, I always choose daily because I'm not admitting and I'm not discharging. We go here to, are we able to round, which basically is the patient available. And if they're available, yeah, just if they're available, number one. If you get in the room, we'll talk about that. Don't worry about it. We're going to do yes first, okay? So yes, patients able to round. That opens up our round here, okay? And our first question, have the doctors and nurses explained what to expect in your care and what they're doing? And you have two options. The patient can state the plan and they reference the whiteboard, or the patient cannot state the plan or does not reference the whiteboard. When I'm doing this, I ask them if they feel that the staff, the doctors and the staff are keeping them up to date on their care. If they understand what's happening, what's going on today, what's going on tomorrow, or when they're going home or something like that. And I'm going to press yes. Sometimes people will reference the whiteboard. Sometimes I reference the whiteboard to at least bring that to their attention, but I don't know everything that's supposed to be there. As far as names, you know, is it last night, today, yesterday? I don't know. And I want to use that as a tool. I will reference that sometimes for their activity. I will reference that for their diet, or maybe the physician. And the patient, I find more times than not, is aware of the board and they can refer to different parts of the board. That works for me. Your director will tell you what works best for the department. That's what I would say about that. Next question, how often does someone from your care team come to check on you? I like to ask if they're being rounded on regularly. Do you feel that they're coming in regularly to see you, to check on you, to see if there's anything that you need? And they'll say, oh yeah, they come in a lot. I say, is it fair to say that they come in every hour? We should be rounding on people every hour in some fashion, whether it's us, PCA, somebody else on the staff. And if they say, yeah, every hour, I say, is it fair to say that sometimes they come in more than once an hour? And sometimes they'll say, well, they come in maybe every hour, hour and a half, something like that. You can press every hour. You can, if they say, you know, they only come in a couple times a day, I don't see them very much because I asked them not to come in. Then you would pick that. When you have needs, how quickly does the staff come to resolve them? I ask them if they're being timely. Do you feel the staff is timely when you have a request? Are they bringing you things quickly? Are they helping you out? Do you need water? Are they answering your call bell on time? Do you feel that you're getting the attention that you need? Almost always they're going to say yes, and almost always they're going to say it might take a minute or two, couple minutes. And I like to clarify. So would you say, is it fair to say that happens in under 10 minutes? Oh yeah, it happens in under 10 minutes. And if it's over, these people are going to be quick to say, oh no, it's probably about 15 or 20 minutes. Well, one time it took an hour and a half. They'll tell you. And mark it down. What I do, and I mark it down. If it's something that's not an average or not something we would like to see as a result, the better answer is always what we would prefer to receive or to see. Down here lower, there's a place to put a note or a comment. In the last 24 hours, how often have you used your call light? Some people will say never, I haven't used it at all yet. I've used it a ton. I feel like I use it every hour. I need help all the time. Oh, we just click what we're gonna do. None. This question, I still struggle with if I'm trying to read it. And if I read it to someone, I still don't really know what it means. Were you told about what happens when your nurses start and end their shift? I mean, I wouldn't expect that as a patient. This is bedside rounding. And that's why I clarify that with them. Did you recognize the nurses come in and do a bedside round here this morning? And they'll look at me and I'll tell them the night shift and day shift nurse will come in, talk about your care, what's going on, what to expect for the day. And they may ask you a question. And they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Or they may say, no, I don't remember that. And I will often reinforce that with, if you were sleeping, they probably did it at the door so they don't disturb you. And sometimes people just don't remember because they're not really paying attention. So yes or no based on that response. Here's some scripting for quietness. On our unit, we strive to promote a quiet, restful environment for you during the night shift. I ask them if they feel that the unit has been quiet during the shift, especially during the night. Most often people are going to say yes. Sometimes people say, yeah, it was kind of crazy out there last night, but didn't really bother me much. I hadn't closed my door. And then, do you have any suggestions on how we can make your next visit better, or how we can make the remaining visit better for you? That's what's going to go in this free box here. Is there anything your care team could do better for you or your patients? Type it in there. I'll be honest, type it in there, but if it's something that needs to be shared, share it with the charge nurse or share it with the manager or the director so that we can get action on that. And then what you would use down below here, select all the themes that were discussed for improvement. Maybe it's the quietness. And then rounding comments, this is where I would put the patient waited an hour and a half for somebody to answer their call bell. That's extreme, but honestly, 2 weeks ago, that's what somebody said. And it was a shift change thing and they were waiting for a PCA, but anyway, I would put that here in the rounding comments. I'm not going to cover the perform recognition round at this point, and we're not going to cover in detail the service recovery. But service recovery, I know sometimes when we do rounds, people are a little bit anxious, maybe of going in and doing a round and having the patient present a problem. What do I do now? Who do I talk to? I think the easiest way to look at that is if I go in to talk to somebody and they say, there's not been somebody in here for 3 hours, I'll say, oh, well, I will go out. I'm gonna go out and talk with the charge nurse and just let them know, see what's going on, see if they have any feedback on what that is. What I'm gonna do then, I'm not necessarily gonna fix that problem, but what I'm gonna do is go back to them and let them know I talked to the charge nurse. So I'm completing a loop. I took their problem, I delivered it to somebody, I'm letting them know it was delivered. I need some water. I'm gonna let them know, okay, so-and-so is gonna get you some water. I let them know they're gonna bring you some water. We wanna be able to close that circuit so that they don't feel that they've been forgotten. If we keep in contact, people, their expectations are met more times than not. Other service recovery, if there's nobody to go to or you don't have an answer, tell them, I'm really not sure, but I will talk to my manager, I'll talk to the director, or they're not in today, I'll send them an email and ask them to get back with you with an answer to that question. Patients aren't always looking for a hard, direct, right now answer. Sometimes they are, obviously, we know that, but they're looking for somebody to listen, number one, and act. And we act by doing the email. That helps a ton. So the rounding itself is fairly simple. The service recovery doesn't necessarily have to be you. If it's something simple that you're able to fix, then fix it and be done. I've had some people do the rounds and they stop here and they wonder why it doesn't populate. So you have to continue on. You'll notice here, observe the care board or the whiteboard, and this has everything that you're observing. And you want to click that it's up to date, or you want to click that it's observed and it appears up to date, because I don't know everything that's supposed to be on there. If we're able to reference a couple of things and they're able to reference or understand that, I click yes. And then we have observe the environment. Is it neat and clean? This references the bathroom, the shower, the toilet, the ceiling, the clutter, the floor. I'll be honest, I see environmental services every morning and they're in and out of all the rooms. I do not do a room inspection. we don't have time to do room inspections, but we certainly can scan around. We can look for safety items. We can look for areas of concern. Is the trash overflowing? I don't go and check out the bathroom. I just look, is the room itself in a generally clean situation? Yes. The patient's not complaining about it. I see EVS cleaning all the time. I'm gonna click yes. We have to click yes there because if we don't address those, we're not gonna be able to submit the round. And once those questions are answered, and let me scroll back real quick, you'll notice all the questions don't have to be answered, just the ones with the red star. So maybe they're just unsure about how often they're checked. Maybe they're unsure about how long it's taken for somebody to respond. Again, it's not a punitive thing. You don't have to answer that, okay? You do have to answer the red stars, and then you hit submit, and it's done. What we'll find here in a second is we did a round here for 617. We did that at 11:02, and it should turn green. Boom, there we go. Turns green. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do one on bed 7. I want to show you the no side just so you can just be aware of what it looks like. There's actually there's a no side and a gray that I wasn't able to round, but let's just go through this, okay? So we click a new round and you'll have the same information here. Here are your same instructions and scripting if you want to use that. We're in bed 7 of the training unit. We're going to do another daily round. Let's just do we'll do a daily round. And is the patient able to round? And I'm going to go in, I'm going to say no. And they're going to say, why not? Well, they were bathing, nonverbal, confused. The patient refused. I've never had somebody refuse, but I have gone in and had people just really not be able to grasp what was happening. So I would click the confused, and you can put comments, patient unable to maybe focus on question, maybe patient doesn't answer the question, maybe the patient just stares blankly at you. I just put a note in here why I couldn't do that. You still have to observe that whiteboard though. And you still have to observe the EVS, the cleanliness of the room, before you can submit this. And so we'll submit that. And I believe that comes up yellow or gray. We'll see. Yellow, we weren't able to do a round on that person. I believe gray will show up if it's incomplete at the time, okay? Any questions, I'll be honest, you can call me and ask me directly or email me a question. My extension is 8727. I'm here 8 to 4:30. If you're off shift, you can leave me a message. I can help you in those. I'm happy to help anytime. If you're doing a round and want somebody to come through with you, I'm happy to do it. If I'm available, give me a call, okay? I'm going to stop share again and try to go back to the presentation. Stop share. Share. What's that look like there? Is it smaller? I'm not sure if I can go back to the large screen without starting over.
Click from current slide, Brent.
Oh, click from, oh, I see.
Right there.
Thank you.
There you go.
And here's the demo we just had, that wonderful, wonderful demo, right? And I will segue to Stacy here.
So we just wanted to go over a few things of what is going well, what barriers you might have. One thing that's going very well, Women's Pavilion has been working with the eye rounding and worked out some of the kinks in the process. So we appreciate Women's Pavilion's help on that. We will be doing, you're going to get the education, start using the iPad, start doing the rounding, and then we're going to have a meeting later on to talk about any barriers that you're running into so we can work as a group to make it flow better. One of the things that is going well, most of the units already do some type of rounding on the patients as a charge nurse. So you're already in that routine of checking on the patient. Usually right now it's more of a physical thing to make sure you've got a baseline, but we want to just focus a little bit more on how the care is being provided. We feel that a barrier you may feel is in place is time. I think currently we look at it as I don't have time to round on 25 patients, but our goal will be to round on every patient one time during their stay. So you don't need to round on everyone with your iPad every day, but between day shift and night shift, try to make sure we're getting around on each patient at least one time. The iPad should help. You'll be able to document your rounding as you go and not have to go back to the desk and send an email to the manager, send an email to recognize the staff member. You'll be able to take care of all that right at one time, and then you're done. And like I said, you don't need to try to hit every single patient, every single shift. Just try to make sure we're getting every patient at least one time. Go ahead and turn the slide, Brent. So we're going to formally go live August 1st. You can be doing rounding before that. We'll have the iPads available. But August 1st, we really want to dig in and do it consistently. And like we said, every patient should receive a leader round at least one time while they're here. So the directors can help, charge nurses can help, and see if we can set our goal to hit everyone at least one time. Go ahead, Brent. As directors, we're gonna have a goal of sending in the weekly email a percentage of how many rounds we got completed each week. And anybody that got mentioned as a compliment or being recognized, we'll make sure we get those passed along. Brent didn't show in the slide, but whenever you do a service recovery, those messages will come to the director so we can follow up on that. So all that will be taken care of right in your iPad rounding. And we'll make sure all the compliments get passed along to the appropriate staff members.
Can I interject?
Yep.
So I did skip the identifying people doing rounding on if somebody's mentioned, and the service recovery. We want to really everybody take time to get comfortable with doing the rounds themselves. And when we have the follow-up meeting, I'll go more into detail on those. In the meantime, you can share things email. And I would also say between now and go live on August 1st, by all means, if there's any time I can help or questions I can answer, get a hold of me.
And we would encourage everybody to start playing now. Don't wait until August 1st. You need to make sure that you have that access, that you can get in. If you can't, let your director or your manager know. We'll work with Brent to make sure you get the right access. And just the more all of us play with it, the more comfortable we're going to be, the easier it's going to be. We'll also be able to show you how you can have it brought up on your desktop so that maybe that's part of your first review. When you've got your computer pulled up and you're getting settled in for your shift, you take a quick look at that and say, oh, there's 6 rooms that haven't been rounded on. I need to make sure I incorporate that into my shift and try to get at least 2 of them. And then maybe that's part of your handoff to the next shift. Hey, I was able to round on 2 rooms last night, but there's still 4 that haven't had, a round, just to help each other get in the habit of making it part of our routine to use the iPad when we're in the rooms. Because we know you're in the rooms. We know you're doing a good job on rounding. This is just another step in the rounding process that we can formalize it. We can make sure that we are actually getting to every person, because you all have the best intentions. You all want to make sure everybody gets around. This way, it'll be easy to tell who you need to focus on.
As Jenny said, you can practice in there. The training module that Brent showed will be available to you. So if you want to go in and play around and not mess up your actual patients, just hit the training module and you can play in the training module. And
as Brent said, any questions that you have during this time, or anytime moving forward. Reach out to any one of us. We'll be glad to help you. Women's Pavilion will be a great resource. They've been doing it the longest. And so just reach out. We're here to help. We want to make it a good experience for you so that it can be a great experience for our patients.
Forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.